Hello and welcome to another episode of Narrated Rolling, where I talk about the sparring roles that I have with my friends Jason and Gosha in their basement dojo. In today's session, all the roles seem to be about me passing the guard. It's not a area that I focus on too much because I'll be honest, most of my attention is spent pulling guard and working from the guard. That's why a lot of my videos will be about sweeps and submissions and defensive postures and framing and regarding. That's just the area that I tend to specialize in. I always have. So I'll admit that I'm not as good with passing the guard as I am with playing the guard. That being said, today was very much about Jason and Gosha pulling guard on me or getting into a guard position, so it gave me an opportunity to practice my guard play. And I'll be honest, I can't really remember all the different kinds of passing techniques that you're supposed to know as a black belt, especially against all the different kinds of guards that are presented to you. So I keep the concept very, very simple. So when I roll, I just think about one thing. I'll explain what I mean as we go along through these rolls. So we'll start off with a roll with Gosha here. And she pulls guard. So she's pulling half guard on me. And I can start straight away with talking about the one thing that I want to do. And that is, I make sure that I try and isolate at least one leg. So I try and isolate and put out of action one of my opponent's legs. And that can be with a variety of methods, or anything that works basically. So let's see how I deal with Gosha's half guard here, and you can sort of see what I mean. So already I've basically progressed on to neutralizing this leg here. I basically sat on it, and she's using a knee shield across my belly here. So my next aim is, now that I've kind of put some weight on this leg, and also notice my hand gripping her knee, my next task is to go around the legs and take upper body control, which is what I've done there. Okay, so we'll just go back again just a few steps, because it's quite a nice pass there. That here you can just see it. What I've done there is here. So in this case here, I've taken a grip at the knee and walked around to the side where she's facing me, which you would imagine to be her strongest side, and it's her strongest side. But with the knee grip and my body weight going in this direction, I'm trying to flatten her shoulders, which is one of the principal aims of passing someone's half guard, is that you're trying to get their shoulders to the ground. So what we have here is my grip here forces her lower half to be in this direction, while my position here forces her shoulder line to be in this direction, twisting her up. And that's the basis of a lot of guard passing. But at the end of the day, all I was thinking about is secure this leg, get it out of the way, and then start passing. Nothing more complicated than that. And you'll see that's what I do there. Okay, so that was quite an interesting example of passing a guard where I was just thinking about one thing, isolating the leg. We'll move on to the next roll with Jason here. It's about 7 minutes in. There's going to be a lot of these rolls, so this will be a longer video than normal. I apologize, but well done for your patience if you're sticking with me, and if you're a regular viewer. So that's 7:15. So here we go. So Jason's grabbing the lapel. Regular viewers of my videos will note that this is a common tactic from Jason. He grabs my lapel, which gives him options whether to stand up or stay down. With that lapel grip here, he has options either way, either passing my guard or playing some sort of lapel guard. In this case, he pulls guard, continuing to grip on the lapel, and he's going to feed it under his own leg. Let's have a look. See, he feeds it under his own leg. There. Now in this case, it's kind of annoying for Jason because I've gone down on my knees. If were I to stand up, he would feed the lapel around his leg and pass it to the other hand. But in this case, I've gone down on my knees, which just sort of makes it a bit more annoying. So he's resorted to an open guard here, and then he closes. So now he's going to work on some. So now in this case, when I recognize that I am under Jason's closed guard, I don't want to be just stay there on my knees. I don't think that's a good. I mean, I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore. I realize that I have to stand up and put some pressure on. So I'm really a fan of this kind of pressure-based attacks when you're in someone's close guard. You can't quite see it, but I am trying to do a push choke down on his neck there, which just causes the opponent to panic a little bit and maybe not quite set up the submissions that they want to do. So Jason backs out, I back out, and now we're into a classic open guard position here. So I'm not successful with my push choke, but now that he's playing open guard, I now go back to my very, very simple concept of trying to pass open guard, and that is to just isolate one of the legs. So you see I'm gripping here on the leg, I'm trying to isolate it, and I step around. He's got a control of my sleeve, which is a bit annoying for me. I don't know what I'm doing with that foot here. Don't ask about that. I think I was just speculating, but I do actually manage to succeed in passing his guard by stepping over his body, and that was all thanks to the first grip that I made on his knee there. So on his knee line, just here. So we'll stop it there, just there. You can see I've just put a little bit of a grip here, which is very useful whenever you are trying to pass some of these open guard and some more of the closed guards like half guard. Very useful to grip at the knee line and just take that leg out of action, stopping him doing what he wants to do to you. And that's a very, very nice little thing. I don't think much more happens in this roll. I think we just oh yes, after I pass, yeah, that's it. And then he obviously tries to regain his guard, so he's backing away. All sorts of shenanigans going on. It's quite a fun roll, that one. Yeah, and then I start playing guards. So you might want to see how Jason passes my guard here. I'm doing a really, really flat half guard, not a very good half guard here. And I realise that, so I revert to a more open guard here. And Jason tries to pass using his old methods of grabbing the lapel. So that was interesting. We're going to move on to another roll here. 14 minutes on. Let's have a look. 14 minutes dead on. There. So this one is with Gosha. And again, she pulls guard. So here in this case, I've opted to do a slightly different strategy. Again, I want to neutralize a leg. And this one, I'm using the underhook. I'm putting my arm underneath her leg. Now you might think, oh dear, you're going to get triangled, Seymour. But I am also aware that it takes two legs to triangle me, and I'm sort of flaring out my arm and elbow to stop her leg here connecting with this leg here. But anyway, by me putting her leg up on my shoulder here, it really stops her doing what she wants to do with her leg. Yes, sure, there might be a danger of a triangle, but there isn't much else. And also I am applying force in this direction. And by doing that, it really takes her leg out of action, neutralizes her ability to use it as an offensive weapon, a guard-based weapon, and basically that's all I was thinking of. Get that leg out of the way and see what happens. So let's see what happens. I think I'm gripping her belt line. Yeah, I just go over the leg, push the foot down, and notice she's got a lapel grip. So that's quite interesting. So I couldn't pass in the way that I wanted to. So I have to, either she gives up the grip or I have to think of something else to do. Now stop here, because that's a nice little trick to have. Again, neutralizing the leg's ability to attack me. So I'm flaring my elbow out quite widely, and I'm not worried of an omoplata or anything because she hasn't got her leg underneath my armpit. I'm sort of just stopping her leg from attacking me in this area, and all you have to do is just stick your elbow out, and that actually that can be really annoying for the guard player. So that was a useful little trick. I wasn't really thinking any too deeply about that one. Again, I'm trying to neutralize one leg so I can find a way to options to pass. So carry on, a little bit of grip fighting there, and yes, I'm going around to my left side. Oh yes, and there. So this is another thing that I like to do, very probably more common than any other micro movement that I use in guard passing, and that's just basically to put my knee and shin across the inner thigh of my opponent. The knee ride or knee slide pass, basically, or variations or thereof. This is a very good way of neutralizing my opponent's leg. I'm putting my weight on there, and I have options to pass, basically transport my hips in this direction, maybe sometimes slightly outwards as well, but it basically takes this leg completely out the picture, which is all I'm thinking about. Again, the simple concept: take one leg out of the equation, and the guard passing is then made much more simple. So let's see with the conclusion of that. Head control as well helps, and I think I take a mount, but she grabs a kind of a quarter guard. I'm not too concerned about quarter guards. Unfortunately for Gosha, we're stuck by the wall here, so she any movement that she's thinking of chance of escaping or countering me is thwarted by the wall. So fair play. I am at a huge advantage there, and I think the round ends with just me being in quarter guard. I don't get the points for completing my pass because I'm stuck in quarter guard, but I guess it's a matter of time. Everything's time based. I'm going to move on to one more roll in this particular segment, and that's 17 minutes 40, and it's around with Jason. And this time I'm pulling guard, so we'll see how Jason successfully pulls guard. Time and time again he passes my guard with this one. It's really worth learning to see how he does that. So I pull guard pretty badly. I have a collar grip, just to sort of basically it's distance management. I'm not really trying to pull him here or push him away. I don't really have that kind of power when I'm seated like that. But it's just to keep him at a distance, and if I can keep him at a distance and I can track his movements, which go from side to side. Of course, if he does push in, I can push away, etc., etc. But that's the reason why I'm doing this grip. It's just really distance management. He's got a grip on my knee, you can see here, very nice, good work, and then he passes across. So let's look at that again, because that's very educational to watch, to see how he passes my guard. Now, I'm sat in this, he's got the grip here, and also see what he does with this leg here. I'm sat in this rather neutral seated guard, butterfly guard if you like, and he's going to push towards his left side. There we go, and he's got my legs between his legs, and he slides his knees across. Very different to how I use my knee slide. I go from the inside to out, he goes from the outside to in. And it's very successful duration, certainly against me. And as he progresses, he slides across, he folds my legs up completely, and takes them out of the equation. Again, it's that simple concept of taking one leg, or two if you're lucky, out of the equation, and taking away the ability of the guard player to reguard, to attack, to sweep, to do anything from you. Easier said than done, of course, but if you only focus on one leg at a time, it just makes the process of guard passing a little bit easier. Okay, so and the round continues like that. Let's see. Takes my back, I kind of slide out, practicing my back escapes. So he hasn't got full back control, but I did succeed in passing my guard, and then we're playing a little footsie. So we'll just pause it there, and I'll move on to another series of rolls, where more exciting than this. Yes, that's right, even more exciting, where we practice guard passing. Okay, we are back with a roll, this time with Gosha, same session. And in this case, if you want to work your guard passing, well, the simplest way is to take them down. So I do an ankle pick, and once I've done the takedown, I'm still presented with the guard. Again, in this case, unfortunately, Gosha's somewhat hampered by this wall here. Sorry, Gosha, and it limits her freedom of movement. So I have a distinct advantage in terms of what I want to do in terms of passing the guard. But still, the concept that I'm trying to incorporate still applies. I'm trying to isolate one leg, at least one leg. And we'll see what I use in this tactic here. There we go. So it's a grip lower down on the leg, and this is what's going to take her leg out of action. So all I'm doing is focusing on one leg at a time in order to begin my guard passing process. Let's see what happens there, and I step over it. I step over the shin of the leg that I gripped, takes it out. Oh, it's got free. Okay, not a problem. We're going to work on something else. Still trying to get knee control, just quite see it there. So in this case, I did manage to, this leg slipped out of the way, but I gripped again, and then I stepped over it. Again, unfortunately, Gosha was hampered by the walls, so perhaps I had a distinct advantage there, which made the passing much, much easier than it would have been had I been in the middle. And I take top control. Now we're stuck by the wall there, so I think let's move it on there 2 minutes 55, there's something a bit more interesting happens. Yeah, we shovel along. Gosh is very good at defending from these positions, so I don't really see any mileage in that. Let's have a look. Okay, so we'll start it from here. We're starting more in the middle, and Gosh is in this open guard. Now, it's not a position she plays too often, so do excuse that. So this is what I wanted to show. It looks really weird, but it actually is. Again, it's a really useful. It's just another example of where I'm just trying to take one leg out of action. I'm only focusing on one of my opponent's legs, and it's this little habit of. I've seen a lot of people. You see this a lot on MMA where they don't want to get punched, but they still want to approach close enough, and that's my hips extending forward. I'm extending my hips really far forward as a sort of barrier, and what that does, that prevents that sort of invades Gosh's territory, allowing me to get closer to the point where I feel I can pass guard. It also takes the leg that I'm hip forwarding on out of action. It gives her less mobility, less space to move, less mobility. I'm actually sitting over the leg there. Yes, I guess I am prone to the double ankle sweep. If you know the double ankle sweep, it's where your opponent grabs both your ankles and then uses their legs to push you backwards. Okay, it's a very basic sweep that surprisingly is very common regardless of your ability. I use it a lot myself, but I've taken my foot backwards, and I've also, again, this concept, I've taking a leg out of the equation. So I'm just literally just pushing her leg out of the way. Nothing more complicated than that. It's a very simple concept. Push the leg out of the way, and then just throw it out of the way and try and see if I can get a pass from there. Let's see what happens here. I'm still sort of working on that very upright stance, hip forward, hip forward, hip forward, walking forward. I should have made more grip. There we go. I grip the knee. My knee goes down. Again, it's that sort of knee slide. And I step over. So we're in the process of passing the guard there. So, that's the end of that round. I didn't quite get my leg out again, so I didn't quite get the points for the pass. But at least I stuck to my principles and just really focused on one leg. We'll look at another roll where, this time with Jason, 4 minutes 24. There we go. And this time, Jason pulls guard, so it gives me another opportunity to practice my guard passing. And we'll see what happens there. Now this is quite something a bit different happens here. I was just experimenting. Here we go. So Jason gets a De La Riva, gets an ankle grip, get lapel grip, very familiar. This time he feeds his leg, right leg, in between mine, and the usual routine would be to grab my belt. So he grabs my belt, flips it forward, there. And normally you would take the back from there. So something a little bit different happens because I knew he was going to do that, and I wanted to just wanted to show something that I've been working on, and this is the first time I actually tried it. So we'll just stop it at the point where, there. See what I did with my right hand? I inserted my right hand in between his legs, ideally to come out as like out of that little pocket there. That's very interesting. That's new. I would not normally have done that before, but I just sort of picked that up from an instructional from, actually of all people, Vim Deputeur. He has a whole tutorial on this, and I've really only just begun to study it, and I thought, well, let's try it. And the idea is that when your opponent takes your back using this, I believe it's called the crab ride, or at least double legs behind you, and he flips you forward, is that by inserting your hand there, it changes the direction of your body, and so you actually turn around as he sweeps you. He turns you around, and you start facing him, and it also takes his leg, again, at the same concept, takes his leg out of the equation. Let's see what happens as I fall. See what I'm doing with my hand here? I've got my hand gripping around, and that's going to be pivotal in the success of this technique. So we'll see if this actually works. I go around, and I land on his leg. Now with my arm hugging his leg, gripping it, it's annoying because Jason can't swing his leg around, his other leg around, because his hips are trapped. If I can grab one of his legs, and his hips are trapped. And then the idea is I have to try and sort of drive myself forward. I wasn't very successful in that, so in the end, all I did was basically just lie on his leg. Uh, yes, he's got the grip around my neck, but he can't, there isn't any counter pressure. He hasn't got his gi, he hasn't got his other arm. There's no rear naked choke. All it is just a bit annoying to me, but I feel safe there. I feel safe because I'm very much committed to applying pressure on his leg, body weight. I'm also gripping his arm, or either he's gripping me or I'm gripping him there. That prevents his using the other arm. And I believe the round, that's pretty much all the round is. He found it. I had a chat with Jason afterwards, and he found that the position I'm in here right now, very frustrating to complete a finish. So my next task is really to be able to develop the next stage. So I'm okay with getting into this sort of single leg hug position, but what I need to do is learn how to get out of here, progress, and ultimately pass his guard. So that's a work in progress, and hopefully I'll be able to show a video where I've been able to evolve from there and do it a bit better. Let's move on to a roll with Gosha, and that's at 12 minutes. Let's have a look at 12 minutes. 12 minutes 18. Oh, yeah. So now I got into. She likes a headlock, so I got into. I managed a rather fluky throw there, and that took me straight into not quite side control, but on her side, stroke back. And this is a nice little progression. We have a little giggle about it because I don't really, I'm not really known for my throwing. So for me to have got a hip throw out of it was, we all had a bit of a laugh about it. So that was quite sweet. But more interestingly, I'm in this position where if she can get her legs in front of me, she's got guard. If she stays where she is, she protects her back and stops me from getting mount, especially with the grips that we have. So we're kind of in an awkward position. I'll get points for the throw, but I'm not really progressing my position as effectively as you would imagine, having done the throw, especially with her very defensive posture here. So we'll just move it along a bit, see what happens. There we go. I think I get the arm. Okay, so again, I basically disengage. There's nothing much going on, so we re-engage. And because Gosha's on the ground, it gives me a chance to try my guard passing. Again, the one leg principle. So see what I've done there. All I've done is just I've taken a grip. Ideally, I'd like it slightly at the knee joint, but I'll take what I can get. And I've stepped over that leg. Completely taken that leg out of the equation. Really, there's not a lot she can do with that leg. So that pretty much again, that it's about 50% of your guard pass is basically to take out the equation of one leg. I keep repeating myself, and I'm just showing you that I only have a one technique principle when it comes to guard passing. So she's caught my leg in a sort of a semi half guard there, but it's not really doing anything, and I think I eventually get it out. Let's have a look. I eventually get it out. There we go. Little back step, and then we take side control and then mount. So yes, that's what happens. So that was a fun roll, and again, repeating myself, the same concept, just concentrating on one leg at a time, using slightly different tips each time to take that leg out. We're going to move it on to 16 minutes where I roll with Jason, and again Jason pulls guard in this next roll, which again gives me another excellent opportunity to try and pass his guard. So here we go. We have a little bit of a stand-up battle. We're doing more and more of these. I mean, neither of us are judoka or wrestlers, but the more time we spend standing up, the more time we grip fight, and the more confidence we have in doing that game. I mean, you either do it or you don't. If you don't do it, you're never going to get the confidence in just being able to grip fight and just wrestle a bit and try to do throws and things like that. Okay, so it's not the best stand-up in the world, but there we go. So Jason does his little hop skip. Now here I'm trying to avoid the lapel wrapping around. Now last time he did the same move to me, and he got that sort of both legs behind my back, and he tried to take my back. I thought this case, I didn't quite succeed with my hand between these leg things, so I'm going to move forward and shift my weight completely forward. That was what was the thought on my mind. You see, I'm on all fours trying to shift forward, but it's not really going to plan. And he basically just very slowly takes my back anyway. which isn't very good. So we're kind of stuck in this little position here. Now what happens then is that I realise I'm about to have my back taken, so I just roll frantically to try and not give him the angle he wants. And then something interesting happens again, guard passing principles. So it doesn't look I'm in guard, but here we go. So we have a sort of a scramble here. There we go. So what I do then is just pick his leg up, push forward, pick it up. There we go. There. Now I'm in his guard. So now I'm in his close guard, and I've been practicing this thing that I do that I learned again from Vim Deputier. Thanks, Vim. Which is he calls the King's Gambit, and the King's Gambit is ideal to use against somebody who plays close guard. And at the moment he's trying to shift his weight to try and get something like a sweep or an armbar. But I'm just what I'm going to do, I'm going to tempt him with a triangle. Tempt him with a triangle choke. So we'll just move it along. I'm going to take my left arm out in a minute. So, and I'm going to take my left arm in a minute and insert it between his legs. It's going to come. I don't want to fast forward because yeah, I'll miss the really cool bit. There we go. There's my left hand coming out, which tempts him for the triangle. He's pulling me down. There's the triangle, but my hand comes through. I now can raise his hips and choke him, or attempt to choke him, which causes a panic reaction, and they abandon the attempt of the triangle, and that gives you the guard pass. But just look at that again, because you know, if you've not seen that before, that was probably my cleanest attempt at it under you know, very under sparring conditions. So we'll just pause it there. Right, so here we go. So I'm going to take my left hand. Now what I'm doing with my right hand is just as important. So both left and right have options. With the push choke, I'm pushing across his neckline. You can't quite see it perhaps in this video, but it looks like I'm trying to strangle him from there. But when you do the King's Gambit, you want to take that arm to the other side and just hold it there. And the reason is that most triangles rely on your arm, your primary arm, being pushed to the other side of your body. So if you keep your arm on this side here, then it keeps it safer. So as I take my left arm out, so there, I feed it through and just leave it there. Just leave it there, and what happens is your opponent thinks, oh, he's trying to do that pass where you put your arm behind and lever the legs apart. So fantastic, I'm going to go for a triangle. So as they go for the triangle, that's it. I bring my left arm over. So can you see how I'm bringing it over to the other side? All you do is put the thumb in the collar and you pressure down. That's all it is. It's just like a cross collar choke. And that changes the angle. He hasn't got the angle for the triangle. Not the ideal one anyway. So the next step of the King's Gambit is I'm going to take my right arm out. Just lift it out and put it underneath his bum, if you like, grabbing his belt. And the purpose of that is to lift his hips up really high, which further accentuates the choke there. Now sometimes you get a tap from this, sometimes you don't, but it definitely gives you a pass. So I'm going to take my hand out. Oh, we didn't take the hand out. Okay, so in this case I didn't take the hand out because the primary left hand was actually doing a good job. So that was a really, really good example. If you want to learn more about the King's Gambit, look it up. Vim's got a load of free YouTube videos on that topic, and they're very, very informative. I mean, it's not new. He didn't invent it. Previously, it was called just the triangle bait, and I've seen it a couple of times in competition. It just takes your opponent by surprise, and it's a really, really, surprisingly, really, really effective. Even for beginners or black belts, doesn't matter. Just try it, and you'll be really surprised how effective it is. Now we're just going to move on to the last set of rolls that we had. We roll for an hour, so I'm not going to show all hour-long rolls, but there were so many guard passing attempts from both sides that is really this video is a bit longer than normal, but I think it's really got some rich content and really good examples of stuff in action. and it's always nice to see things being used against a live resistant training partner, in addition to step-by-step tutorials, as well as the stuff you do in class. So here I am, I'm pulling guard. I don't think it's a bad guard pull, but his posture is pretty strong. Now, as we've seen before, Jason likes to do that kind of what we call a folding pass, where he takes a grip of one knee and uses his leg to push my legs out of the way. Now, the reason that works is because one of the things that you could look for when you're trying to pass somebody's guard is to make their knees join together. So at the moment there's a gap between my knees, as most guard players, and I need that gap to create some sort of force and leverage and push and pull effect. But when somebody brings your knees close together, and there are some guard passes like the Mermaid guard passes where they are touching each other, it completely takes both legs out of the equation. So we'll see what Jason does here, because he kind of does that with this guard pass here. So you see how my legs are now quite close together, which is a bit annoying. So he's using his knee to push across from the outside to the in, which is what he likes to do, and that brings my left knee close to my right knee and takes it out. There's no power, there's no leverage, there's no extension, there's nothing. And he's assisting that by pushing, you can't see it, but with his left hand he's pushing my shin down, which takes it out of the equation. And there, he's happy to do what he wants. He's stepping for an armbar, and it's all downhill there for me. So that wasn't really nice. So that's all I wanted to show in terms of guard passing. And again, reiterating, me personally, when I pass guard, I can't remember all the different techniques. So all I'm trying to do is neutralize one leg from my opponent, whether it's the near leg to me, the primary one that's really in the way, or the secondary one, which is less powerful in terms of what the guard player wants to do. But if I can get rid of one, either it's a grip or an underhook or my knee across or something, then I have a really good chance of continuing with the next stage of guard passing, which is to battle the next leg and then pass the hips, and then you pass the frames, and then you get side control or mount or knee on belly. It's a multi-stage process. There are many layers to the guard, but if you try and overcomplicate things, I think it gets a bit too hard to learn to do. That's why, for me anyway, I think there are two things that a lot of jiu-jitsu students find difficult. Number one is takedowns, because it takes a lot of time to really get good at takedowns unless you have prior experience. And the other two is guard passing. It's actually easier, in my opinion, to learn to be a good guard player than it is to be a good passer. Alright, I don't know why that is, but that's the way it is. I'm going to finish off with one little bonus technique. It's nothing to do with guard passing, but I very rarely do this technique, and with my role with Gosha here, it presented me with this opportunity. So here I am. Oh, there I am. So she's got me in half guard, and I'm grapevining my legs, and I'm doing a lockdown here. So as I'm sort of doing this lockdown, I'm swinging the leg out, which causes Gosha to be completely unbalanced, and I get a sweep. We'll just show you the beginnings of that again. So you can't quite see the beginning there. So Gosha's got me in this she's in top position, and I'm using she's flattening me, which is good tactics from her. You're supposed to flatten your person, but if you can do the lockdown when you're using half guard and you're completely flat, it just really changes the angles of what your opponent wants to do to you. And when you're in lockdown, you swing around. I'm not an expert on the lockdown. This is kind of like the first time I've done it in probably about 5 years. You just swing around hoping that your opponent will be really unbalanced, and I think that move surprised Gosha and allowed me to roll her over, get the exchange there, and then I start passing her half guard. So that's really all there is I wanted to show. Thanks for your patience in this very long hour-long video. But I think there are some pearls of wisdom there, not just for you, but I'm learning from watching these videos, and I can already see little bits where I'm making mistakes and little bits that I'm doing right, and it encourages me to continue along that path of that concept of neutralizing one leg before focusing on to the next stage of passing the guard. And I hope that's useful to you. thank you very much. Join me next time. I don't know what topic I'll cover. Whatever the roles bring up, then we shall examine that, and I'll see you very soon. Thanks very much, everyone.